I'm willing to spend more for something if it'll taste better, but a bottle of imitation vanilla only costs $1, where a bottle of pure extract half the size costs $10, $15, sometimes more. Is it that much better, or is imitation good enough? Pastry chefs have strong opinions on this. I'd rather use nothing, as the taste of artificial vanilla varies from insipid to nasty. Or using imitation vanilla is like dousing yourself with a Chanel No. 5 knockoff you bought in Chinatown. Well, that settles it. Case closed, right? Not according to America's Test Kitchen, Serious Eats, and Epicurious. They found, in baked goods especially, you either can't tell the difference between imitation and real extract, or in many cases we even prefer imitation. Now, why would that be? Part of it is probably that imitation is more concentrated, with 5 to 10 times more vanillin, the distinctive flavor compound, though vanillin is only one of hundreds of subtle flavor compounds in vanilla, but maybe those flavors are so subtle that we don't notice them. Fine vanilla notes can be overpowered by other flavors, and alcoholic extract is volatile and evaporates a lot of the flavor when baked. Differences in flavor are said to be more obvious with cold desserts like ice cream, but there's no easy answer to the question of what's the best vanilla. There are so many variables, like the quality of the product you're testing, but also personal preference. Take this taste test done by a baking supply store. In a group of 50 people, on average, there was no clear winner. All products were rated about the same, but individual ratings varied widely. For the same product, some loved it, while others thought it was bland. I also suspect cultural norms is an influence. This test was in the United States. If you did a test in Europe, you might get different results. But knowing that personal preference is so important, the only way I would know for myself what vanilla I like would be if I went out and bought, say, 10 different vanilla products, made cookies and pudding with each, and compared them side by side. That would be a lot of work. But you know, I'm something of a scientist myself. That's exactly what I did. So let's meet the contestants. 2 kinds of pure extract, standard McCormick's and fancy Nielsen Massey. Then imitation flavoring. This baker's brand was actually the overall winner in a shootout from America's Test Kitchen. I also managed to find pure vanillin at Middle Eastern grocery stores downtown. This one has awesome art on the packaging and comes in nondescript little vials. I'm just picturing a bunch of kids at the playground at school trading or selling off these vials of white powder. I'm also trying 2 kinds of Mexican vanilla. The cheap Molina brand, which is a blend of pure and imitation, and also a premium pure flavoring. And I read lots of good things about vanilla powder. This is just pods that have been dried and ground up. Supposedly they hold up to the heat of baking really well. And finally, a vanilla bean paste. This one is beans ground up and soaked in extract. I bet it packs a punch. And whole vanilla beans, of course, comparing the 2 main varieties, bourbon and Tahitian. And you should know the price of these products. The cost ranges from as little as 3 cents per teaspoon for the cheap imitation, all the way up to $1.15 per teaspoon for the paste. That's quite a difference in price, almost 40 times more. So the first thing I want to know in my taste tests is, in chocolate chip cookies, do you even notice if you leave out the vanilla? Supposedly in chocolate chip cookies, it plays a light, balancing, subtle bass note is what they call it. I want to see if that's really true. So I've got a cookie here that was made with no vanilla. This one's imitation, and this one's with a pure extract. If I just move all of these around to the point where I don't know which is which, there are numbers on the bottom of the plates, so I'll be able to tell. Now, totally blind taste test. I think this one has some vanilla in it. Yeah, I think these 2 have vanilla and this one doesn't. Let's see what my results are. So this one is, oh no, I forgot to label the plates. Take 2. Good thing I made like 5 of each of these. Now the plates have labels. That's a good step. Let's try this. One more time. Cookie one. Not noticing much vanilla. Okay, I think there's vanilla in that one. Yeah, so I say there's vanilla in these two. I couldn't tell you which one's imitation and which one's pure extract. Moment of truth. Okay, this one did not have vanilla. This one was pure, this one was imitation. Okay, the bitterness of the chocolate and the brown sugar, slightly caramelized, seemed a little more prominent to me. But I really had to pay attention to notice the difference. Now the sugar cookie test. This one's a really high pressure situation. It's often reported that vanilla products don't hold up to heat very well. I would not be surprised if all of these cookies ended up tasting practically the same to me, but we'll give it the most honest taste that I can. The most obvious one here is this cookie's a little bit darker. This one was the vanilla powder, but let's taste these and see what we can find out. This one is the McCormick's. Perfectly edible cookie. It's the Nielsen Massey. Okay, it tastes the same, no obvious difference. This one was the Baker's imitation flavor. This one's interesting. I close my eyes and bite into it. It's a very classic vanilla flavor. At the same time, there's a little bit of bitterness. And this one, number 4, was the pure vanillin. Okay, that one seems a little more muted than this one, even though the imitation gets most of its flavor from vanillin. Molina Mexican vanilla. Pure Mexican vanilla. So far, the only one that's standing out to me is that Baker's imitation. Now let's try the Madagascar whole bean. Maybe it's all in my head, but that one seems a little bit better than average. Any difference in these is so subtle. I can't say I'm surprised. I mean, that aligns with the results of all the baking tests I've seen so far. But maybe this will be a tiebreaker. This one that has so much vanilla in it that it's darker colored than the rest. The ground vanilla. Oh, wow. Wow. that one's really good. So maybe that's the secret to getting good vanilla in sugar cookies, or any cookies for that matter. You just need to use a whole bunch of it, which does line up with some research I did when I was making the chocolate chip cookies. The classic Nestle Toll House recipe only calls for 1 teaspoon, but when I looked up other recipes at similar proportions of ingredients, a lot of them called for 2 or 3 teaspoons. So I do think if you like vanilla flavor or want stronger vanilla, increasing the amount does seem like a really good idea, because if I just close my eyes and taste this one, I'm noticing a bit more of the non-traditional vanilla flavors in this, some of the more subtle notes. I want to narrow a couple of these down and do a couple last minute comparisons. That one's fine. The good Mexican vanilla. I swear that one's a little bit better compared with pure vanillin. Now that I come back to this vanillin one, I definitely am getting a little bit of that bitter aftertaste that lingers on the tongue after, but not nearly as much as the Baker's. Let me try the Baker's one more time. I mean, the smell's really good. That aftertaste. America's Test Kitchen. This is just another block in the wall between me and America's Test Kitchen. I have a love-hate relationship with them. I think some things they talk about and they do are on point, but every once in a while they really miss the mark. Unless I did something really, really wrong here, there's no way this is the best vanilla. That's my conclusion of the sugar cookie test. 80% of the time, it tastes exactly the same. Pure ground vanilla tastes a little better, especially when you add a little bit extra, which I think I did here. But Baker's vanilla, gross. No go. And now the taste test I'm really excited about. Panna cotta. Cold desserts are supposed to make differences between vanilla more obvious, so let's see if that's the case. The the McCormick's vanilla. Good vanilla flavor. Okay. Now Nielsen Massey. Subtle difference, but I do think the Nielsen Massey does have a little more interesting vanilla flavor to it. I will do a blind test of these after I've tasted them all initially. Now here's the Baker's Imitation. That tastes like a cheap pudding mix to me. Not in a bad way. I'm tempted to say it has a chemical-y kind of flavor, but number one, I hate the misuse of the word chemical, but number two, it's not as deep and subtle as with the pure extract. Now, the pure vanillin, pretty comparable to the Baker's Imitation. Okay, Molina, Mexican blend. I like that one quite a lot. Let me compare that to the fancy Mexican vanilla. Yeah, those are both very good. The bourbon vanilla bean. Okay, pretty good. I do like that. Now the Tahitian vanilla. It's really hard to place a description to the flavor notes, but I definitely can tell a difference between these two. This one, it's sweeter, it's lighter. This one's like a white wine, whereas the bourbon vanilla is more like a red wine. That's almost how I'd say it. Now let me try the paste. Okay, that one's good. That one's good. Let me finish up with the ground vanilla again. Look how dark that is on the bottom. These ones are like pure white on the bottom, but look how much black there is on the bottom of this. I swear I only put in half the proportion, a quarter of a teaspoon in these compared to half a teaspoon of liquid in these. That is very good. Yeah. Gosh, ground vanilla. You look at the price comparison between the powdered vanilla and the pure extract. Given the choice between the two, I would opt for the powdered vanilla. I would say in general, the powdered vanilla is kind of winning me over in these taste tests. It was a product that I didn't even know existed until I started researching here, but it's kind of surprising me. Mix all these up, try to randomize. Let's see if any of these in a blind taste test obviously calls out to me. I'll put the like ones on the right. Good, but not quite as good as the last one. I'm kind of middle of the road on that one. That one's pretty bleh to me. I'm guessing this one has vanilla beans in it. I'm getting a very strong vanilla from that. I'm thinking that's one of the Mexican vanillas. That one's pretty good. I should probably be revealing these as I'm doing them. Otherwise, I'll forget them. I was right. That's the Molina. Okay, last one. That one's got to be an artificial. I'll guess that's the Baker's. And I'm right. Very telling that when I'm completely blind to it, that Baker's just tastes nasty, man. I guess I can open my eyes now. Baker's is the worst. So these two that I thought were just okay, the Nielsen Massey and the Tahitian, okay. Middle of the road for me was the other vanilla bean and the vanillin. The ones I liked, definitely the pure Mexican paste, and also, yeah, just good old McCormick's. Yeah, so what's the conclusion here? Basically, if you buy anything other than Baker's vanilla, I think you're in pretty good shape. Any good pure extract will make a really good cold dessert. If you want something that's just a little above and beyond, go with something concentrated like a paste that's a mix of both beans and extract, or just use a whole bunch of ground vanilla pods in it. Obviously, these tests aren't conclusive. Again, the whole reason I did this was because personal preference is an important thing. I know where my tastes lie. I'd be curious if any of you have ever done similar tests. Let me know in the comments. There's so many vanilla products out there today that honestly, this is just the tip of an iceberg. A fun experiment to do. What's not so much fun though is tasting pure vanillin by itself. I open this jar and smell it. It smells like a pretty pleasant, sweet vanilla flavor. If I just barely dip my finger into it so I get just the tiniest bit of crystals and just barely dip my tongue on it. That spot where it hit my tongue is just burning. Oh, it just burns. It burns. Oh my. Oh, geez. Don't be like me. Don't do that.